Murphy's law? This guy Murphy keeps chasing me all the time wherever I go and I make presentations. But one thing I've learned is, you change it there? I'll tell you to change the slide. Okay. So, wanted a new design for a combination log. Can we have the next slide, please? Now, you see this combination log doesn't have numbers, right? The moment I say combination log, all of us think about a combination log with numbers. Now, here is one with alphabets, right? Why is it that I think of a combination log with numbers? Because that's what I've been used to, that's what I'm comfortable with, and I don't need to think differently. But there is a huge possibility for us to do something like this, even in a simple combination log, if only we empower ourselves. Next slide. Draw a triangle inside your mind. In your mind, draw a triangle. Okay? Done? Simplest thing in the world? Yeah? Okay, next slide. There's a triangle. Everybody got a triangle? Can I raise your hand to me? Can you see your hands going up? Yeah? Brilliant. What's the next slide, please? Has anybody drawn a triangle in your mind this way? Anybody? You did it? Super. Okay, next one. Anybody drew it this way? Very few. Okay? Now, in the early days, the government of India had a family planning program, right? And they had an upside down triangle. At that time, a lot of people remember the upside down triangle this way. But that's not the point. Why is it that when I say triangle, I go this way? Yes. And I can't think of any other way, whereas it could be this way or the earlier way. Now, this empowerment will actually open your mind to say what other possibilities exist, right? So this is a very important thing that I'm suggesting, that empowerment will question the status quo. Next slide. So this is number, what is the number? 9? Is number 9 correct? Now you're going to make this into number 6 with one additional line. Don't show it, don't show it. I'll tell you when to show it. Suspense. Yeah? You're going to make 6 with one additional line. You saw the answer, so go to the next slide. Okay, now don't feel so happy, but there is another answer which is possible. Yeah? Now, when you got this, now you're going to get stuck in this one and say, okay, this is the answer, and so on and so forth. So let me show you another answer. Next slide. Now 1 to 6 is 6. Now the number 6 is a line. Now the reason why we don't think of number 6 as a line is that the moment I say line, we think of a straight line. Right? We don't think of a line with a curve in it. So this is another right answer. So empowerment allows you to look for answers beyond the obvious. Okay? So the point is, if your mind is open, if the window is open, fresh air comes in. If the mind is open, you get fresh ideas. And that's part of the empowerment. Okay? Next slide. So I worked in an agency called Ogilvy Advertising for 25 long years. Our founder was Mr. David Ogilvy. I had the pleasure of meeting with him when he came to India, and then saw him in Paris and so on. He used a term called divine discontent. Divine discontent is about not unhappiness, but there is this internal feeling that I can do better. You know, there must be a different way to do things better. It's not about grumbling. It is not about saying what I don't have. It's always about divine discontent is about how can I make things better? How can I make things faster? How can I help things to, reduce cost? And so on. It's all about improvement. Okay? That is divine discontent. Next slide. Who are the creative people we admire? Now I put Venu Srinivasan's slide here because most people think that he is the boss, and we can't associate creative thinking with Mr. Venu Srinivasan. It's probably the way it is. I had the good fortune to work with him in the early days on TVS Suzuki when I was in Ogilvy. It became TVS Motors. We launched many products, including Scooty and so on. And there were personal interactions where we were talking about the company values, incorporating company values, and so on and so forth. The reason why I admire him is that he was not espousing value which he didn't practice. Right? And he had the humility to learn from others. There used to be Japanese professors who used to come to teach people. Now there was one particular meeting, I remember, that the Japanese professor who had come earlier was there in the session, and he started the meeting where these people had an agenda on the slide and all that. He said no, and he took out his notebook and he said, in the last meeting we decided we'll do the following 4 things. First, let us discuss what is the progress in the following 4 things. Right? When people turned around and said, nothing has happened, that professor said, that thank you very much, I'm going. I don't want to waste time with people who don't want to improve. Alright? At that point, Mr. Srinivasan stood up, went to the professor and said, I promise you that every single meeting you will come here after, you can see visible progress, tangible progress with proof. We understand where you're coming from. Now, he not only had the power as an MD to say whatever he wanted, but he also had the humility to accept the situation and correct the situation. So empowerment is not just about physical strength and mental strength. Humility is a great strength in terms of empowerment because actually opens a lot of doors. If I'm humble, a lot of doors open. Right? If I actually throw my weight around, there are a couple of guys that say, hey, let us see what he does. He has to ask me for help, he'll come. Right? So you actually provoke the other person to think in a manner he doesn't wish to normally think. Right? So empowerment is a very different way in which it empowers yourself and it empowers others. The next slide. You take Shivaji Ganesan. Okay? We all know his actor, the kind of stuff that he had done. This is from Devar Bhagat. In this film, he actually did something completely different from whatever else he had done in the past. If he had not understood the role, if he had not thought about it, he could not have created this fantastic character. Right? He empowered himself to portray a role which was so different from everything else that he had done in the past. There was no major drama, there was no major dialogue, there was no action. But the way in which he acted in that film, there was Kamala Hassan in it, okay? The two were not competing, but there is no way Kamala Hassan's action was better than Shivaji Ganesan's in this movie. You must see this film to believe it. This man empowered himself to act in a manner which he had never done before. He had empowered himself to portray a role which was so real, so touching, right, and so powerful. So, I would always think of Shivaji in there rather than Kamala Hassan. Okay, next one. What is the movie? Elysis. Mani Ratnam's movie, Ponniyin Selvan. Right? Now, that kind of grandeur and scale which that movie is made is unimaginable. I mean, you might always say that, there is a producer from Kerala who is willing to invest in all that, but even if somebody had the will and the guts to dream and empower himself so that he can persuade the investor to invest money in this. He is not taking the risk. With him, the risk is his reputation. With the investor, the producer, the guy who is funding the film, it's all about money. So he was able to do that. The empowerment comes, when the empowerment comes, it's not only us, it empowers the people around us. It empowers the whole team. I have been watching videos about every single actor who came on a video talking about what it was like shooting for this movie. Right? And there were some amazing videos you must see on YouTube. It's too difficult for me to explain. It was incredible the way the man had gone about doing this. To be able to dream so big, to be audacious enough to say we must get investments for this, to be able to persuade somebody to put money on it, all that is empowerment. Next. Rajni, okay? The first film was one film where he came as a villain or something, and thereafter he's changed the way in which he's been acting and the way in which he's been portraying roles and the manner in which he's actually got stature in the industry not because he's been around in the industry for a long time, but his points of views and the way in which he talked about things. Next slide. Kamala Hassan, right? The empowerment he uses is to portray roles that he has not done before all the time. It's very easy for somebody to say, this is what I am, this is what I will do, but every film he is trying something different. Empowerment means that you be in a position to do something differently, achieve different results, and willing to fail if it so happens. Right? Empowerment is also giving you the power to fail but face it. Next. Amitabh Bachchan, right? At the peak of his career in movies, he went on to this Kaun Banega Crorepati kind of stuff. A completely different shit. He was not the hero of the show, right? He was a facilitator of the show. But he did it so with great talent, great style, Now you're not able to think of it without him. But that's empowerment is willingness to change, willingness to try something, willingness to fail if it happens, and so on. Next one. And next one, this lady, Ramya Krishnan, she acted like Jayalalitha in the movie, I think. Now, these people again, glamour was at one point, which is their forte, but from glamour, they are going to roles which are very different, which portray some very interesting stuff. The previous one, Nayanthara, she was a detective in a film, and this lady enacted the role of a chief minister and so on. Unless you feel empowered, you will not take the risk, right? Part of empowerment is to say that if something goes wrong, I will still manage it. You don't buckle under pressure. Okay, next slide. Vivek, incredible person, right? The way in which he actually enacted his role, the way in which he brought in likeness into the moment, etc., is incredible. But there are times you might feel that he does the same thing. There are times he has done things which is completely different. Okay? Next. Kannadasan. Okay? Now, if you see Tamil movies in the early days, there was Kannadasan. And then next. Then Wali came. Now, Wali could not do exactly what Kannadasan did because nobody would accept it from him. Right? He changed the way the lyrics were written. And then next came somebody else. Vairamuthu. Now, if you see the difference between Kannadasan and Wali and Vairamuthu, it's huge. But each of them empowered himself to think differently, boldly, and make an impact. Next. Same with cricket. Okay, this is a major World Cup story that we all know about. So Kapil Dev is a different kind of captain. The next. Sachin is a different kind of captain. Next. This guy is a different kind of captain. So all of them empowered themselves to play the roles which they are best suited to the role. They were not really replicating each other. Next. Okay, Dhoni, right? Take Steve Jobs, for instance. I mean, he came after, if you read his book, right, the number of failures he had before he came out with the Mac series and the iPhone and so on and so forth, he would never give up. Okay? He empowered himself to create a different world in the IT business. Next. So does this person, Bill Gates, right? Next. Why do we admire and appreciate these people? We admire and appreciate these people for the following reasons. Next. One is that all of these people are creative. The creative people are creative because of a couple of things. One is that they had the technical, procedural, and intellectual knowledge. The next one was their creative thinking skills, which gave them the flexibility. And then the motivation, the intrinsic is more effective than eccentric. Now, empowerment is coming from the motivation side. Okay? Big managers, major managers influence all of this. Next. There is a very interesting quote from Albert Einstein who says, insanity is doing the same thing over and again and expecting different results. If you are looking for different results, you have to give different inputs, right? So empowerment is the name of the game to be able to do things to get different results. Next. So we don't want to be Xerox copies of each other, which is true of all of this. I mean, all of us are doing balance sheets. Still, the way in which you deliver it, the way in which you deal with your clients and relationships will be different. Next. So, here is a quote which I want to read for us. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. and most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. That is empowerment. They somehow already know that what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Okay, next. So there are some barriers to creativity. I'm going to run through this very fast. The proposition I'm making is that creativity is an integral part of your empowerment, right? Barriers to creativity. One is obsession with one right answer. Okay, now next slide. So what is 10 and 10? The wrong question to ask. People play with numbers all the time, right? 10 and 10 is 100, right? But this question gives you only one right answer. This is the problem with the question. Show me the next slide.
10 squares.
So you change the questions and you change the effect. Next. This is number 100. In how many different ways can I arrive at the number 100? Next. 10 and 10 is 1, 10 into 10. Next. 120 minus 20. Next. 65 plus 35. 500 divided by 5. Now if I take this 4 and then, there are so many different people here, maybe about 100, there are 400 different answers possible. Immediately some of you will say there is duplication. Let us say 50% is duplication. We still have 100 different possibilities. The way in which we question is going to actually help people get empowered. Next. So wanted a picture of Eiffel Tower. Okay? Show me the Eiffel Tower picture. Next picture. Standard picture you will find everywhere. Okay? Next slide. This shot, I was running a workshop in Larsen and Toubro. When I showed this Eiffel Tower picture, he came and showed it to me on his mobile. He said, boss, this is what I shot. Have you seen this anywhere? Nobody shoots Eiffel Tower from this angle. Everybody shoots it this way because that's the standard way. Empowerment allows you to try and experiment. If you fail, you fail. It doesn't matter. Right? Next slide. So why do we resist new ideas? I think it's very important to understand. When you resist ideas, you also resist new ideas, you also resist empowerment. One is that it is not my idea. Second is it threatens my role. Third is it is not budgeted. Could make me look very bad. It's unconventional. It is more work for